Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Office Hours. It's just me this week. Unfortunately, Flo couldn't make it. If someone's just ghosting and it's their first time, you're more than welcome to ask a question. It's what we're here for the hour. It's just to ask any questions you may have when you're building inside a WeWeb. You can post it in the chat, or I've put a link in the chat also. You can join me live and we can go through it in person. Hey, Simba, sure thing. What is it you're having troubles with the new chat? Is there something in particular? And you're having troubles with the grid component, which isn't as flexible as the table one with row elements, or you're missing something? Let's go through the chat first. What is it? Is there something in particular you're struggling with? Want to implement it in-app and was wondering whether anything special had to be done. Yes, so it's a bit, it takes a bit of know-how, I guess. Give me just 1 second. I shall share my screen. Message starts as a webhook on the site and transitions to the chat interface for users since original message comes from users not already signed into the platform. Message starts as a webhook on the site, makes sense, and then transitions to the chat interface for users since the original message comes from users not already signed. Okay. So the crux of it will be, if I drag this onto the page. So right now, when you post a message, there's nothing set up natively in the chat to actually add the message. So if I type this, I'm pressing enter, but there's nothing being added to the chat. So in your case, since they're coming from a webhook and you then need to show them into the interface, I will send you a link to the docs. It might be useful because it would actually cover this use case quite well. Let me just get it. I'll post it in the chat. Because you'll basically need to have a thread or a chat table in your backend, basically, and then you'll need to have a separate messages table or basically some way to store messages and link them to a chat. And then when someone hits your webhook with a new message, you'll need to add that message to your backend, and then obviously it's linked to a chat. So in the chat element, you can get all of the related messages from your database. Because to show the message that came from the webhook inside the chat element, whatever messages you have bound to it, you basically need to add it to this list or this array. And one other thing to note with this is that in your case, they send a message, it then needs to get shown in the chat. So you'll need to add it to whatever data is populating this, whatever you've got bound to it, it needs to be added to the messages. But then likewise, if someone types in a message here, and this gets explained very well in the docs, better than I could in the space of like 2 minutes, but you'll need to have a workflow, and there's a trigger available on the chat for workflows called onMessageSent. And inside of here, you'll need to set up logic so that whatever the user has typed in, I'll just try and find something I can just show you in the binding as an example. In the event value, you have this message object, and this contains all of the information about the message the user just typed in. So you'll need to use this onMessageSent trigger to set up a workflow that basically saves your message to the backend. And because it's pulling in data from the backend, it will ultimately get shown in the chat because you have it bound to this or whatever messages wherever you're pulling the messages in from. And Mark has joined me, I believe. Hello, Mark. How's it going? Good. Are you able to speak to me? Just because if there's listeners, they can't see the private chat. No worries. And then for your question on grids, Simba, I will quickly share my screen again. It depends on your use case, and it depends what you mean by inflexible, because all the grid is behind the scenes. So I have this grid on my page, and it has these columns. All a grid is a div with its display type set to grid. So for example, if I just drag a div onto the page, and then I set its display to grid, I can add 3 columns, and I have the exact same thing as this grid. So the grid is just a div with some default styling applied. in this case, the display is set to grid. But in terms of it being inflexible, it depends what you mean exactly, because if I add the table, I think our table is just a div with some... Does this have anything special to it? No. So the header is a grid, and then you have a list, and then a row is a grid. Okay, so the table element is actually grids, because the header is a grid, and then the row are also grids with columns for each cell. So they should be very similar. Oh, you meant the data grid, okay. So in theory, I can also have the messages in chat. So in theory, I can also have the messages in chat with our app and also sending by email. Yes, I think because your message is hitting a webhook, and you then need to show that in the interface, you might need to use real-time. So I'm not sure what backend you're using, but for it, at least as I understand it, for it to work correctly, I think you'll need some kind of real-time setup, so that when the webhook hits, because you have that real-time connection, when you take it from the webhook and add it to your database, it will automatically show up for the user. So that should work. And then for the email sending, that would work also in the webhook. So let's say you have a webhook, it receives a message from somewhere. One piece of logic in the webhook is to save it to your database. And because the database is real time, it gets shown to the user. And then also in that logic, you can have something set up so it contacts a mail sender with an API request and then sends it to the user. Yeah, Zano, okay, cool. In which case, you can use real time. You can use real time. It's a bit tricky to set up because you have to open channels and things of that nature. It's a bit less straightforward than Supabase, I think, for real time. You might be able to do you might be able to have something set up basically. So when someone opens the chat, because I don't know if the chat is always open, maybe when they open the chat, so you don't have to go through the hassle of setting up real time. When they open the chat, you start some kind of loop, and let's say like every 10 seconds, it refetches the chat, the messages collection or whatever you're using. And then when they close the chat, you cancel that loop. I think that would also work quite well and would do the same thing without the hassle of setting up real time. So you could have something like they open the chat, you start a loop, a while loop. So while chat open is true, fetch messages collection like every 5 to 10 seconds. Then when they close the chat, you set chat messages or chat open to false or whatever it is. And because it's now false, that loop stops. And I think that should solve the same things without having to set up real time. And Mark is here and he has his mic ready. Hey Mark, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, super. How's it going?
Very good. How about yourself?
Good. How can I help?
All right. So I'm currently struggling with the Figma import.
Okay.
So I tried some of the, well, let's put it this way. Tried it first. I went on the website that I wanted to check out if the importing works. So I tried actually a few of these plugins that are available, and I found the best one in terms of that it does the design integration is HTML to design. I don't know. Have you used that?
I haven't, no.
Okay, so I use that one, and it looks good. If I checked most of the layers, and they seem good, but I cannot import it somehow into.
Okay. Would you mind sharing your screen and we can see where it goes from?
Well, a second.
Yes.
All right. So perfect. Let's say this page or this page is mine. Let's do this one. So I use them.
But before you do this quickly, is there auto layout on the designs? Do you know?
Yeah, for example, like on this one, here, like there's auto layouts.
Okay.
Check here. It's auto layout. I mean, some like auto layout.
Okay.
So I'm not sure because they have some of these are just regular sections, like frames.
Yeah. Let's see. I would say let's try the entire page first, and if it's really bad, then I'm curious to try the individual sections to see if they import better. Okay. But let's see.
All right. So let's go here. Oh, which one? All the way up. Which one we got the file? I'm guessing it's.
That's good. I think, yeah.
So, Also, so the chat thing is new, by the way?
Yeah, it's I think we released it last week. So that's the chat element, and then there's another element coming out in a week's time or so called AI chat, which is it's more designed for streaming responses instead of just showing the message all in one go.
Oh, okay, nice. And also works with webhooks because I'm using Zano. I'm using Realtime.
You would need to set that up yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a native integration with real-time, but as long as you're pulling data from a collection and that collection is using Supabase real-time, then it would work fine.
Yeah, no, yeah, okay, perfect. Because then I just trigger it to update the collection. Do you guys have in the chat, do you have a local object that saves the chat? Or how do you always update?
You would have to do it yourself. So everything is exposed by triggers. So like when someone sends a message, there's a trigger that gets emitted, or an event that gets emitted, sorry, for like on message sent. There's one for on attachment click, that kind of thing. So you then have to set up that saving yourself around the triggers.
All right. Sounds good. Okay, look, I copied it. Paste from QuickBook.
Okay, that's odd. In which case, could we try one of the individual sections in it to see if that works a bit better?
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's go this section, I guess. So,
Yeah.
This one. Let's go this one. Do you want to go into the section first a little bit more to see if everything's fine or?
I think maybe because you clicked off the section while I was exporting, it might have.
But look, let's see. Let's check first. All of them have auto layout. I'm not sure if this is an issue here. This part, because it's a frame. I don't know what that grounded means, but the rest are auto layouts.
Yeah. Let's I don't try it. Yeah, let's try it. See.
Wait, I think I'm gonna restart real quick. Okay. Got it.
Okay.
So I did it once before, and then some of them were just literally just imported them as images.
So, let's see. Okay, so it's kind of there, but not really with the spacing, and the padding's a bit crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So is this how does the importing work? Is it with AI or also it's just literally?
I'm not entirely sure. Basically, when you copy, we somehow take the Figma design, turn it into JSON, and then when you import that JSON, oh, that's a bit better, I guess. And then it
yeah.
And then it converts that JSON into WeWeb designs. But I'm not sure. I mean, I guess there must be, the reason it's failing is because there's probably one culprit in your designs, but it's difficult to tell where exactly, which point in the design is the kind of culprit of the issue. I mean, I say an issue, this is a bug. It shouldn't just throw you an error.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. So I have to figure it out. What do you guys usually do? What's your workflow in that regard?
Honestly, well, I mean, this is the first time I've seen an issue like this, so I'd love it if you could report it. But in this regard, unfortunately, I think the best thing you could do is break it up in either just import section by section until you find the culprit, and maybe you can actually deduce what the issue is because there's something in that section that isn't in any other of the other sections. But yeah, because I mean, if that one section works, then there must just be kind of one part of the design that's the culprit of the issue.
For example, this one is like here, and it's like I guess a gallery. It's like sliding gallery.
Yeah.
Here. And this one is completely just an image. Right?
It's Can we try it out of curiosity?
Yeah, of course. Let me just get this section. So that's what one of the things sounds like. Okay, it's coming down.
Yeah.
Okay, imports. Mark, good. Okay. And if I click on it now, this is an image.
Interesting. Okay, that's. And just to make sure it's not one image in Figma, right?
Yeah, no, it's not one image. You can see. It's
Okay, I don't. That's a question for the developers. I'm honestly not. I'm not even sure how it managed to do that. Okay. In which case, then, so yeah, I think maybe the best thing for now is try and import it section by section, and then there might be a few things you have to manually change, like the width of the previous import. I'm not sure if you know, when you're actually in the editor, there's two ways to start the import. One is when you don't have anything on the page, but if you press more, yeah, you can do it from here, so you don't have to delete everything.
Yeah. No, yeah. I was just doing the quick way. Okay, sorry. One more question then in that regard. Which one do you usually use to check websites and just import them into Figma? Which have you tried, or have you not tried?
I've only ever tried. So we used to use the Builder.io plugin, and then we built our own one.
Yeah.
But
Wait, WeWeb can import?
sorry.
WeWeb, you can import stuff?
No. So we used to, before we had our own plugin, we used to use the Builder.io plugin, but now we've built our own one. But the only one that will work is the WeWeb one. Are you asking like which can you use to get just the raw HTML from a website?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's it's a good question. Honestly, I haven't tried many. If you find one, let me know, because it'd be so handy. I've never really experimented with it.
Okay, I'll let you know, because it's super interesting also, because I'm playing around with, we have also with Lovable, etc., to just see how I can import and how to play around with all this stuff.
One thing that is very cool that I discovered that we hadn't really put out there is one thing WeWeb does pretty well is actually, if you give the AI React code, it builds it pretty well.
Yeah.
So like if you're in Lovable and you get it to generate something, if you just pull out in React the code of the page and then give that to WeWeb along with any of the components that it uses on that page, it builds it pretty well. So just a side note for that. And then I guess on that topic, now I think about it, if you just inspect a page and then copy the HTML, that might also work pretty well. But obviously, if you can get it into Figma, then it will probably import better.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, perfect. Thank you.
No worries. But please do report that as a bug, by the way, because you should never just get an error straight up like that. So please do put it through the bug report.
I will. Thank you.
Cheers, Mark.
All right, take care.
Hey, Anton. Yes, I did. Sorry, I was waiting for you to put a topic on the community, but since you didn't, I thought you might join today. Rivan from our support team helped me with this. So he watched the last office hours and then he messaged me with a solution, and it's so easy. It's so unbelievably easy. So you can thank Rivan for this, not me. Give me 1 second. I'll find it and then I'll share it with you. It's literally just one line of CSS that fixes it. So if I get an input, I make it long answer. I take away the fixed height. And if I now add this one line of CSS, it now updates. And so I guess the only real thing you need to do is give it a fixed or some kind of defined width. So yeah, there you go. I'll put this is the line of CSS you need. Literally just that single line. So you have Rivan from the support team to thank. Also, is it possible to make some place in the new interface where we'll be able to see all the global events and set workflows for them? What do you mean by global events? Do you mean like the app level workflows, or what do you mean by the global events? So for example, my keylogger for shift control keys, if I track Alt or Windows key, my app loses focus and I'm not able to refresh the state of the key. So I guess global events would be something outside of the events we currently expose, right? So these would be events that aren't even available in page level workflows or app level workflows. Ah, can you hear me, Anton? Anton? Okay, I'll remove from the lobby, Anton. Let me know if you come back. Can you hear me now?
Do you hear me? I can hear you. I've turned on the microphone.
Yes. Can you hear me?
For some reason, I can't write a message. It doesn't appear. It's in the chat.
Okay, but you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, and I'll try to enable a video, but if the connection, it will do.
Yeah. No worries. Did you see what I said about the height changing?
Yeah, I've seen
I
about
think you might need to disable the
CSS,
video.
but
It's breaking up a bit.
with this CSS or we need JavaScript. The main question. I think it's better.
Sorry, you broke up for me.
The camera.
Cool. Okay, I think that might be a bit better.
Nothing goes to the direction.
There we go. Okay. Okay, I think the connection's a bit smoother now. Did you sorry, you were saying about the auto height?
Yeah. I was wondering if we still need JavaScript or this CSS line will work without JavaScript.
No, literally just that single CSS line, and it should work okay.
Oh, nice. I'll try it. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know if you heard me. It was Rivan from our support team. He heard the office hours and then he messaged me after it.
Yes.
So you don't have me to thank. You have Rivan to thank.
Yeah.
And then you were mentioning about the global events. So would these be global events that we don't even expose right now via like page workflows and app workflows, or would they be somewhat related?
I mean, when we have something related to events, we don't have an option to somehow group those events by type. So, for example, we can have 3 events for on-page load, 4 events for workflows, for on application load, and when we see this list of events of workflows connected to those events, we can group them, and we have different places where we can fire these events. So we need to check all the places where we can create those workflows. Like we can create on page load inside global events list, global workflows list, and we can create this event inside the page workflows. So we don't have a place where we can overview all the workflows which are triggered by this event, and we can't control the sequence, we can say that you need to run this workflow after this workflow, or in it will be great to have any control of those workflows and how they work within the system, within the workflow, within the event sequence.
I don't know if they will. So there'll be better. Give me just 1 second. I don't want to show more than what Flo showed last week. Let me see if I can show you something. So I don't think I have, I can't show you what was there. I can't find what Flo showed. I think he showed the actual live app, but changes have been made, so I don't want to show too much. But basically the idea would be on the left-hand side, you would have a workflows tab. And so instead of now having to go to like the page settings to add a page level workflow, to go to the app in the header to add an app level workflow, there's now just a single workflows menu on the left, and you would have reusable workflows, which are now known as project workflows, page workflows, and then app level workflows. So they're all in there. They're all in a single area now. And to answer your question around how you could, because I know what you mean when you have tons of them, it's hard to track everything that's going on when it gets to a certain level. With the new navigation, I don't know if there'll be a way to better handle that per se. I think the page level ones will be grouped per page, so they'll be a bit more readable in that sense. But what could really help is the debugging is going to be revamped. But right now, the logs, to be honest with you, are kind of useless because every little micro interaction you do fires an event in the logs panel, and it's pretty unreadable. But that's being overhauled. And so if you want to add some kind of logging to these workflows, or even without adding your own logging, just better get an idea of what's going on a step-by-step basis, it should now be way more readable, because with the new logs, when a workflow fires, you can look through the history and you can click on every individual run of that workflow, and you'll be able to see exactly in this run of the workflow, in this step, what was returned, and go through it step by step to see actually what was returned at every step of the workflow. It should be.
Yes. Yeah, like in N10 and White, it would be nice.
Exactly like that.
Yeah,
so
it would be nice if debugging will not slow down the application, because now if you forget to close that debugging panel, the application will be very slow.
Yeah. So it'll be way more cluttered, or way less cluttered. Sorry. And what it actually shows you in the logs will be way more helpful. So although you won't be able to like better group the workflows per se, because you should be able to better debug them and know what's going on at a step-by-step basis, it should solve the problem a lot.
Nice. And I've noticed that when we export the application, when we go live, and if something happens to the backend side or in the code is obfuscated, and instead of names of the functions, we can see only the letters. And if I have some error inside the console browser debugging this developer tools, I have no option to understand from which workflow this came from. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. That'd be one for Flo, I guess. I don't know how much could be changed from that perspective. Maybe in the short term, a fix might be is adding console logs potentially in errors. It's not ideal. Because if you have a culprit, if you have some workflows that you know are kind of,
Yeah. The only way to debug now is to put console log before actions, after actions, and just see where the error happens before or after some debugging step.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's one for Flo. I don't know how much can be changed from that perspective, from our side anyway.
Because I don't have any errors in the editor, but when it goes to live, somehow or sometimes some errors happen, and I need to shoot them, and I have no tools to do this.
Do you use Zano or Supabase?
In my current project, I use Supabase. Supabase has most of them have really nice logs, different way, but Supabase you can control how many debug information you have. Zano you have a lot of information, but you can't control a lot.
Makes sense. Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, from that perspective, I don't know how much you can change with that. In the live project, console logs your only friend, unfortunately, for the debugging. And then anything you can access in the back end. But yeah, it's a one. Hopefully, Flo should be back next week, and that's one you could potentially ask him, because I don't know how much we could change from a technical perspective.
Maybe we can create. I've posted a topic on the community forum, asking maybe we can have some better stage for the upcoming WeWeb updates, and on this better stage, maybe a similar way we can have not very live version of the application. So like we can have a version which works without an editor, but not a live version, but without obfuscating. I don't know if you get it.
You mean something other than staging?
So now we have editor and we have live. We don't have any option to see what happens in the JavaScript before the obfuscation, before the building to the compact application.
There is a staging environment. I don't know if you've ever experimented with it. So there is a fake
Not
production
yet.
environment. Okay.
That's interesting. But still, I think we will have obfuscated those letters instead of function names and so on.
I think you would, because the staging environment it's production, but it's not production. So it's outside of the editor. So I've never tried to check that kind of thing, but I think staging would be what you're after.
It's just a way to use different data, not the live data.
Yeah, I think staging should be able to do it. I mean, it's in your case, because you're using Supabase, it's a bit tricky right now. But like in the case of Zano, and the Supabase version of this will be coming out, I think, in like a week or two. But with Zano, you can define a data source for the editor, staging, and production. So all three could have a different data source if you want, which is coming to Supabase soon. So yeah, I think you should be able to cover your use case with staging, and then once it comes out, just using a different Supabase data source for staging.
Yeah, makes sense.
Cool. Super. Okay. Any more questions?
No, I think I'm out of the questions.
Okay, super. I think it's quiet this evening, so if you have any more, just give me a shout.
Okay.
Super. Cheers, Anton. Rothanio, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, as a question. I have a question about the calendar element. The styling seems very limited. Am I able to manipulate the size of each row or cell? Because currently the cells are auto-adjusted based on the amount of events. Let me just check it on my side to see if, to make sure there isn't any styling that comes with it for that kind of thing. So yes, we don't expose a property for it. However, and this is kind of a bit of trickery that you can apply to any of the elements, is sorry, I realize the way I'm sharing my screen, you can't see everything. Let me just change what I'm sharing. So we don't expose a property for it, but what you can do is you can right click on the page, go to inspect, and you can click on this little icon, which now lets you select any element on the page in the HTML. And one thing you can do in something like this is you can try and find the thing you want. So you want a cell, you can click this and kind of follow this up to find it. So here it is. And I can see the cell has this class of fc-daygrid-dayframe, etc., etc. So one thing you could do is, and just to make sure this works correctly, is if I click this and then I say like height 500 pixels, you can see it got massive, so I can tell this is what I want. So one thing you could do is I can copy this class, and then in WeWeb now, I could go to custom code, and in the head, I could do this. This is just a style tag. So you're saying you're going to put styles inside of this. And I just need to put a slash here to mark that it's the end. And this is where my web dev knowledge falls off a cliff because I can't remember the exact syntax for this. I think it's this. And you could say height equals, and whatever you want it to be, like, I don't know, 100 pixels. And I don't want to lead you down the incorrect path. So let me actually just check that, let me check the correct syntax for this because I don't want to give you the wrong CSS syntax. On the month view, okay, that complicates things then. What you could do then is, so if you wanted to, this would be the CSS for it, where you could just have dot class and then define the styling. But in your case, because you need it to be dynamic in certain cases, I think probably the best approach would just be you can click these three dots and then you can fork the component. And I mean, we can try it now. Let's see if it works. So you can edit with AI, and I can say, I want the calendar to have a prop that lets me define the height of each cell. And we can see if that works. So basically you can fork any component with those three dots, and then you can ask AI to make changes. Like things like adding properties and triggers or that kind of thing. By the way, it'd be great to have custom CSS section for components, bindable to be able to compute values. Right now, we create a custom state. We can't have different values for those states or screen sizes. Yeah, I think so. That's actually a great point, Anton. I think you can. So if you create a custom state for an element, I don't want to close this in case I break something. I'll wait for this to be done to show you. But if you create a custom state on an element, the custom CSS will be different for each state. So in the default state, if you write some kind of custom CSS and then create a custom state, and then in that custom state for the element, change the custom CSS, it will actually save for that specific state. However, it would be super nice to be able to bind it specifically, because if you have a bunch of different logic, then yeah, it becomes a nuisance. You have to create a custom state for every single possible variation. Yeah, the ID and class fields don't, yeah. I'm not sure why this is taking so long on my side. Let me just, I'm going to copy this and then just retry it. Yeah, I agree. It would be super nice. It would be super nice to be able to kind of like, I think Webflow has it, or at least Webflow has the ability, or has way more breakpoints, the ability to define custom breakpoints, or at least have more preset breakpoints would be super nice. I agree. Ah, interesting. Yeah, that's no good. Yeah, a custom viewports in that case would be super helpful. I wish Flo was here, because I don't know if it's the fact you can't go beneath lower than 350 pixels width is, I don't think it's a technical limitation. Maybe it's just a limitation that we've put in place for some reason. So I think that might be a simple change, but I'm not too sure. It's a shame Flo's not here to answer the question. I'm not so sure. I don't know why this is taking so long to prep this component, because it never takes this long for me. If you're still here, Rothanio, on your side, I'd recommend to try this. I don't know why it's taking so long to process for me, but if you fork it and ask the AI to add a property to let you define the height of each cell, it should work correctly. Because there's already a class for it in the element, it should be pretty straightforward for it to actually make it a property. So it should work well. I don't know why it's taking so long to process for me. That's never good. Wonderful. So you can definitely solve your issue. I'd recommend trying this on your side because I don't think you'll get an error thrown for trying to build the component. However, if you do still face issues and you do get an error, this can definitely be solved. It's just a bit complex. So let me think if I can show you an example from somewhere, if I have a project somewhere else. Give me just 1 second to try and find something from a different project that I can show you as an example. I'm sorry, Manish. I'm just I'm trying to find something for someone. I think we're going to make that the title of all the office hours from now on. We're going to call it Locked In Office Hours. Export their WeWeb calendar to Outlook or Gmail. I'm not too familiar with what you mean by export. You mean like if I have an event in my WeWeb calendar, I can export it so that event gets added to my calendar in Outlook or Gmail? Is that what you mean? Yeah, so you would need to, that's not so much something that would be on the WeWeb side, it's more on your backend side. So I'm not sure what backend you're using. My guess is it's Supabase or Zano. But whichever one it is, you'd basically in your backend need to set up some kind of connection with the person's Outlook or Gmail. Usually that involves them giving you their API key. So in WeWeb, you would basically request the person's, in this case, like Google Calendar API key, or in the case of Google, usually it's like a general Google API key, but it has access to their calendar. So you need to request on the WeWeb side that they give you that API key. You would need to save that in your database against the user. And then whenever someone wants to export something from their WeWeb calendar to their Google Calendar, you would make a request in your backend, an API request to Google, passing along that user's API key. And because you pass along that API key, you can say, hey, for this person, I want to save XYZ event to their calendar. So you can do it. It's not the most straightforward thing in the world. A lot of the complexity, in truth, would sit on the backend side, whatever you're doing, because that's kind of where the core logic is, where you need to handle that sending of the event to the actual Google API. The only real WeWeb piece would be taking the event, passing it to your backend so it can then forward it onto Google, and also in the initial step, taking the person's API key so you can authenticate with them into Google. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the thing I was trying to find for you about the different way to change the cell height, but I can't find it. Because you could, the issue with, because you want to do it dynamically, it's a bit tricky to add it as custom code because the custom code would always apply. But I know for a fact, if you wanted to, you could run some custom JavaScript in a workflow that would dynamically update the styling of those classes. So you could dynamically control it. I just can't for the life of me find the example that I had for doing so. I'm really sorry, Nathaniel, I can't find the thing I was looking for. If you could, if it's really a blocker to try and get this kind of logic working, please could you create a topic on the forum for it so I can follow up with this, because you definitely can do this. I just can't find the example that I had in mind. I'll put a link to the forum there, or when you're in the editor, you can press help in the top header, and then you can report a bug. Oh, sorry, not report a bug. You can chat with us, and in the chat, you can then ask the support team for some help, and they'll be able to give you the solution if you can't get the custom component working, because you can do it with custom JavaScript. So if it is really a blocker, please do follow up either on the community or the support chat. Cool. Okay, that is us for this week. We're here every Tuesday evening, 6 to 7 p.m. Central European time. Usually Flo is with me. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it this week. So yes, we look forward to seeing you next week, and hopefully Flo should be back with me. Cheers, everyone.